What's going on, guys? Luke Trukin.
No.
What's going on, guys? Luke Trukin, Online Edge. This is Lee Shelton.
What's up?
Coming to you live every single Friday, hitting anything you want to know from marketing, branding, startup marketing. I mean, look, we've really had a lot of stuff over the last, 13 podcasts?
Yep. We've pretty wide ranging from SEO to website design to branding, all over the place, but all marketing.
Yeah, so this episode, we are continuing on the branding train. And so, I don't know, you had a specific idea where you were going to take this. I specifically
wanted to put you on the spot today because I wanted to take you through a little bit of an exercise that we're going to retroactively take you through an exercise.
I always ask days before, hey, what are we doing on the podcast? And he's like, I'm just going to put you on the spot. I'm like,
it's not always, but this time that's definitely the case. And it's been a few times like that. I needed you to be on the spot today for the purpose of this podcast. So we're in a series right now talking about branding, and today we're going to talk about brand affiliation. And okay. I want to talk you through, we're going to retroactive this. So we're going to go back to the landscaping days for you. So I need you to put your landscaping hat on. Thank you.
Good to go.
And so I want to ask you a couple of questions as far as how to identify your customer base of customer affiliation. So basically what affiliation is, I have a really good friend of mine who explains it this way. If there are two people walking down the street, one of them's holding a Neiman Marcus bag and the other one's holding a Walmart bag, and they both look like almost identical, they could be sisters, those two bags tell you what club that they're in, what club they've joined. And so that's basically what affiliation is that when somebody does business with you, what club are they joining by doing that? And so it allows you as a business owner to kind of niche down a little bit and identify the customer base that you are most accurately reaching. Of course, you're going to reach beyond that, but it's a great idea to be able to drill down and actually understand who your affiliation is, because it really speaks to everything. It speaks to the tone and tenor of your marketing. It speaks to everything from what colors you use to the attitude that you have when you're making posts on social media. Snarky works in a lot of cases. Dollar Shave Club built an entire brand based off of this aggressive I am man type of marketing. That was their affiliation. They weren't going after guys who were a little bit more of primpers and that kind of stuff. That wasn't the goal. They were aggressively at the beginning, especially going after dudes. Yeah. And so that was their affiliation. That's who they associated with. That was the club that you joined when you did that. So remember last year, Gillette did a pretty socially conscious advertisement on really kind of encouraging men to be better men, but it was done in such a way that a lot of kind of man's men got a little bit offended's the wrong word, but just kind of like, I actually don't want to join that club. I'm not trying to be a softer man. And so Dollar Shave Club actually countered that a little bit. And so they were basically, what they were doing is saying, hey, this is who our affiliation is, and we aren't mad that you're mad at us right now because this is our affiliation. And Dollar Shave Club said, okay, great. This is who our affiliation is. In some cases, it's the opposite. And we're not mad if you're mad at us.
Yeah.
And so they both aggressively went after their groups. And as a result, both of them won. So I want to talk you through, we're going to take you through a little bit of an affiliation exercise right now, and ask a couple of questions when it comes to this, so that some of this you did intuitively. Because when you started your business, how old were you?
15.
15 years old. So you didn't have anybody take you through an affiliation exercise at 15 years old. A lot of this you understand now because you're a professional marketer at this point. But 15 years old, affiliation would have been the furthest thing from your mind. You're just trying to work hard, serve customers as best as you possibly can, and grow based off of that service, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, let's go back to that 15-year-old who's starting a business, who's doing things like figuring out what a logo is going to be, figuring out who you're going to target, all that kind of stuff. Some of that was done for you. You had to target people that you could get to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you-
Well,
and-
I mean, really wasn't a whole lot of like thought process behind a lot of that stuff until I got a little bit older. But yeah, I mean,
So let me ask you this question. Let's kind of identify who the customer base was. Obviously, at 15 years old, you were literally riding the lawnmower to different houses at
Yep.
that point. So the customer base had to be people who were pretty similar to you because they lived in your neighborhood.
yeah.
So
yeah,
just-
they were definitely within a certain radius, and that was it.
But that in and of itself provides a certain level of affiliation.
Yep.
You live in similar houses, have similar household incomes, maybe similar priorities, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Did that neighborhood have a HOA?
Correct. They
Okay.
did.
So an HOA, I had to explain this to my 10-year-old because we just moved into a neighborhood, kind of out of the country a little bit, into a neighborhood with an HOA, and so I explained it this way, which for you adults, which is everybody watching, but for you, you'll kind of laugh at this a little bit. But I basically said, hey, this is an agreement that neighbors come to when they move into a neighborhood together of what the neighborhood's going to look like. There's a little bit more to it than that, but that's
Yeah.
the general consensus of what a HOA is supposed to be.
No
But
6 foot tall grass.
there's a mindset when you live in a neighborhood with an HOA. There's especially if you
there
live in a
is.
neighborhood with a really strict HOA. There's a mindset of, hey, for some people moving into that neighborhood, that type of neighborhood, it's a plus that you have that because they want their neighbors held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
For other people, it's oh my God, I cannot wait to get out of this HOA because it's too controlling. This is not how I want to live. That kind of stuff. So that's fine. That's just two different types of people. So by its very nature, because of the radius, you live in a neighborhood with an HOA. You live in a neighborhood with pretty nice homes, beautiful homes in that neighborhood. I know the neighborhood. And you live in a neighborhood in a certain region of the world where people have a certain mindset on some things. So just based off of that, I'm gonna make a couple of guesses of some things that you did that were actually affiliation decisions that you didn't think about them as affiliation decisions. From day one, did you blow off driveways and weed eat and that
Yep.
kind of stuff?
Yep.
So a lot of people, if you live in the country, you may not weed eat every other time that you mow the grass.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
If you may mow your grass every other week, every third week.
Yep.
If you live in a situation like that, so immediately you knew you were mowing. Were you mowing everybody's lawn once a week?
Yep.
So you didn't have
There was a couple of people that wanted,
But they
every
were
2
outliers.
weeks, but
We're talking about
less than 10% of the client base.
There you go. So your affiliation base wanted lawn mowed every week,
Manicured.
wanted manicured.
Yeah,
So tell me
is
the
the
difference.
It's nice versus might have missed a little bit of grass, maybe didn't weed eat, maybe didn't edge. You're just kind of trying to make it where it's not 6 feet tall.
So even that phrase that you just used is an affiliation phrase.
100%.
So me saying mowed and you correcting me in a positive sense and saying manicured, right there, you're cutting out a certain portion of people who they hear the word manicured and they hear expensive.
Yep.
And
For sure.
and another customer base who hears the word manicured and they hear proper. So both of
They hear
those,
manicured and they go, "Yep, that's what I want."
that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want manicured. I'm not looking for a discount and I'm embarrassed of my lawn. I want this.
Yep.
So you're edging, you're blowing off driveways and walkways, you're weed eating, all that stuff from day one, because intuitively, because you grew up in that neighborhood, intuitively you knew your customer base, and all of those things were affiliation. So let me ask you another question. When it came to the language that you used in how you talked to homeowners and that kind of stuff, did you think through that? Like, did you find yourself talking differently to a homeowner than you would talk to a friend, kind of cutting up with a friend and that kind of
most
stuff?
definitely.
So walk me
Yeah,
through
yeah.
those differences.
Yeah, I cut myself out of a lot of friend groups because I once, especially like a little bit older that I became, my mindset had changed the way that I carry communication and conversations with people. And so, the majority of the people that I was around all the time were adults. And so I had to start acting and communicating like an adult, even as a high school or a lower grade high school student.
Yeah,
right?
freshman, sophomore, yeah.
Whatever. I instantly had to then become pretty much an adult because I was talking to adults all the time.
So even in that stuff, and I cut you off, you can go right, hold that thought. But even in that, So you're even adjusting the language that you use,
Yeah.
the way that you present yourself,
Correct.
probably the way that you dressed and
Yep.
that sort of thing was different than a lot of your your friend group, because you knew intuitively affiliation.
Correct.
So what was the rest of the sentence?
Well, I was just going to say, like, I don't know. I mean, a lot of that was probably just, intuitive. Like, I needed to impress the people that were around me, right? To be able to win the business and make them think of me more than just the high school kid that was mowing grass, because I wanted something bigger than that. And so the messaging, though, really wasn't something that I was consciously aware of until several years later, when I was actually thinking about, okay, what do people really want out of a lawn care company? And what are they not getting now? And how do I communicate to those people differently than everybody else is? Because most people aren't.
Really good.
And so that's when stuff really started to change. And that's when I started really diving into marketing and branding and listening to people that were experts in the field,
Right.
and reading a bunch of books and really studying on what does that actually mean. That's when stuff started to change. Before that, it was just kind of like I'm kind of serving everybody. I knew I had like a certain person, but
Right.
I was kind of still serving everybody, and it wasn't until I started really learning that niche down, and then I
Right.
was really focused on who I was going to target.
And I've talked with 55-year-old business owners who, when I ask them who target audience is, they say everybody.
Yeah.
And
That's dangerous.
And it is dangerous, because what it does is, a lot of times when you aim too wide, you just miss it all.
Yep. 100%. And you can only, in most situations, especially in service-based businesses, like, you can only do so much in a day.
Right.
We're not talking about e-com or something like that, but we're talking about service spaces mostly in this podcast. But you can only get so much stuff done in a day. So why wouldn't you want to service the best client possible? And
the as well, you're getting more of the best client.
Correct.
So you can only do so much in a day, but also you're going to have more of that client when you understand affiliation. If people jump onto a website and they don't know what club they're joining by doing business with you when they jump on that website, then nobody thinks like that. That's just the way but it is the way your brain works.
Yeah.
And so you'll find a place where you do. I don't know why I'd buy Dollar Shave Club razors versus something else. Like, if I go back and think about it, I think about it in those terms, and I can tell you why. But I don't have. It wasn't this conscious decision of, when I saw that advertisement of, that's the club I want to join. I want to be friends with that guy. I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
That thought didn't
Sure.
cross my mind.
Sure.
And yet I've been a customer of theirs for a couple of years. So we want to keep this one a short one, but I want to give you a couple of action steps at the end of it, because most businesses don't. If you're listening to this and you're a business owner and you've never heard of the term affiliation before, and don't feel like you're alone in this, like you're 5% of businesses. Most businesses haven't thought this through. But the difference between businesses that think this kind of thing through and the difference between the ones that don't is you'll grow a customer base that you are excited to do business with these people. If you find yourself growing one that you don't like your customer base, it's like, man, this isn't what I was trying to do to begin with. Think through affiliation. And here's a couple of exercises. One, look over your current customer base. So if you already have an established business right now, find the commonalities, the similarities between your current customers, and drill down into that a little bit and say, okay, this is who my affiliation is. And now formulate all your marketing around that. If you are talking to 50-year-old men, you're going to talk differently to them than you are going to 25-year-old girls. So you have to put yourself in that mindset when you are putting together marketing material, when you're working on branding, period, all that kind of stuff. Make sure that you are thinking through affiliation with every piece of marketing that you have. So so that's step one of the exercise. Step two is this, and it's a really, really simple one, but it's an important one. Think through who you are, because a lot of times we attract the same mindset and customers of the mindset that we have. So if you build something to a degree, if you build something for yourself, you right then and there have kind of this instant customer base. Now, that doesn't work for everybody. Some people are trying to aim higher than they are, as maybe a socioeconomic level or something to that effect. So that's fine. But if you do that, okay, great. So what kind of language is used in that situation? How does that customer base dress? That kind of stuff. Because you want to a degree, you want your business, since it's going to be speaking to them, you want there to be some emulation there. And so from everything from, I mean, there's a lot of times people make decisions off of that based off of what vehicle they drive. If a lawyer showed up to a meeting in a beat up 1993 Ford Ranger, I'd be worried.
Yeah.
And yet there's a number of people who, if they showed up in that, I'd be excited because the context makes sense. But so affiliation is all about what club you're inviting your customers to join by doing business with you. Take those a couple exercises, work them out, take some time on this, and you'll find yourself in a situation where you'll be asking less questions of how do I market, how do I market, how do I market? And now it's, okay, here's my base, here's who I'm trying to attract, and here's where I can market in order to attract these people. Thank you guys so much for watching the Online Edge podcast. Every single Friday, we're coming out with new podcasts. Make sure and subscribe, and we will see you guys next week.